Colonized Singapore, commuting is a central part of daily life. Yet, transport remains a problematic issue in the city-state. In this video, we propose a hyper-connected train network to make up for the inadequacies of the current transport system. Private cars are a primary mode of transport in Singapore. However, car prices are increasingly unaffordable amongst Singaporeans. The COE price alone was $75,556 for a car below 1,600cc and $77,600 for a car above 1,600cc in August 2013. This makes the cost of a typical car $142,900. Average household incomes, however, remain low at less than $4,000 per capita. It is therefore slowly becoming more difficult for the average Singaporean family to own a car.
$154 for a Prius?
No kidding.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is the moral of this story, don't buy cars in Singapore?
Additionally, traffic congestion is observed all over Singapore, especially during peak hours, inconveniencing all travellers. The imposition of COE and ERPs all over Singapore has so far proven to be ineffective in solving the issue of congestion. Over the period of 2010 to 2011, total vehicle numbers increased from 945,829 to 956,704, a difference of 10,875 vehicles. Just entering the city alone, the number of cars rose from 293,300 in 2010 to 300,000 in 2011, a total difference of 6,700. These measures have instead induced controversy and unhappiness amongst all Singaporeans. In light of all this, commuters naturally choose public transport over private cars. Our public transport system, however, sorely needs improvement. Improper train maintenance aside, the trains are extremely crowded during peak hours. Simply entering the trains takes much jostling, pushing, and shoving. A My Paper survey shows that 47% of respondents felt that our buses were overcrowded, and 70% of respondents felt that what they disliked most about trains was the overcrowdedness. This is not helped by the fact that many places in Singapore are not accessible by MRT, only by buses. Buses take longer and are less convenient. The transport system in Singapore therefore seems inadequate to deal with the rising population numbers, and it is imperative that an alternative solution is found.
Okay, it's now 7 p.m. and we are in Dhoby Ghaut train station. As you can see, this place is very crowded.
I live in a not so well connected area, and it's not very easy to get around using trains. Bus wise it's easier, but there's always the problem of congestion, and I admit that the train network is very well connected in the city, but in the so-called suburbs, right, it's not so well connected. We have to take we only have one line, and we take it to the central area.
For me, I think right now we have a lot of stations, but then it's generally centered around the town area. So for me, because I live in the north, it's quite far to get from one side to the other, and there seems to be like a big gap in between to get from the north to the south. So I need to go to either side and then change to get to, let's say if I want to go to the south of Singapore, like to school.
In fact, many parts of Singapore remain fairly unconnected. To prove our point, we follow Ihan, a student, on her journey to the train station. Our solution, a hyper-connected train network that connects the entire Singapore. Here is one example of an extremely connected train network, the metro system in the city centre of Paris, France. Simply by comparing the two train maps, it is clear that Singapore's system is inferior. The metro in Paris has 16 lines and a total of 303 stations, with 62 stations that can allow the transfer to another line. The trains cover 214 km in an area of 105.4 km square, the area of Paris. Contrast this to Singapore's current network. It has 4 lines, 91 stations, and only 9 interchanges. This covers a total of 148.9 kilometers in an area of 271.4 kilometers square. Only 34 more stations will be added when the lines under construction are completed. Let us also take a look at one of the largest stations in Paris, Gare du Nord. It is a large station that not only contains train lines for within the city centre, it has trains to the Paris suburbs, other cities, international train lines, and buses. It is also connected to the stations Château Landon and La Chapelle, expanding the number of lines it contains. The biggest interchange in Singapore, on the other hand, is Dhoby Ghaut, connecting a grand total of 3 lines. Evidently, Singapore still has room for improvement to cater to the needs of the citizens.
Well, I guess that in Singapore we need an increasingly expensive network because given the land constraints of Singapore, it's no longer possible to construct ever more roads when about like 12% of our land is really being used. So definitely in order to keep in pace with the population and to promote the greater mobility, it is necessary to
train stations and the networks, do you think it will be sufficient to cater to the fast rising population of Singapore?
I think right now we are building a lot of stations and a lot of new lines, but for me, I don't see a lot of the lines running through like places near to my house, so I don't think I'll be very positively affected. But then I can see that they are at least putting an effort, but I think it only benefit like parts of Singapore and not like everywhere.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
It'd be nice if they have, for example, direct trains from ends of the city to another.
I feel like right now the population is increasing very fast, and we might probably need more like trains running from place to place so that it will increase efficiency and increase productivity in general.
Due to land limitations, it is not ideal for Singapore to attempt to increase the number of roads to ease congestion. Restrictions imposed on the number of cars will also mean that a large number of working-class Singaporeans will be unable to afford these cars. As such, a more feasible and accessible method of improving transport in Singapore will be to increase the connectivity and comfort of our public transport system. We propose that a hyper-connected train network be built in Singapore, much like they have in the major European cities. One general rule of thumb, every populated point in Singapore must be within 200 meters of a train station. Thus, more stations must be built to infiltrate the less connected parts of Singapore, thereby facilitating transport to and from all parts of our island. Furthermore, we propose that large interchange stations are built to integrate all the different train networks, such that the changing from one line to another is convenient and simple. The hyper-connected network we are proposing can not only make up for the shortcomings of the current transport systems, it can come with certain benefits. Firstly, it makes car ownership unnecessary, leading to less road space used. This frees up land space for other purposes, something that Singapore sorely needs. As of 2010, 12% of Singapore's land was used for roads. Given that housing takes up only 15%, the amount of land that our roads use is a significant amount. These trains can then make use of the underground spaces of Singapore, which is vast and generally untapped. Furthermore, decreasing car numbers will result in less pollution. In Asian cities, transport has been estimated to contribute to 40 to 98% of total carbon monoxide emissions and 32 to 85% of total nitrogen oxide emissions. Pollution leads to a large number of diseases, including cancer, respiratory diseases, and cardiovascular diseases. By expanding our public transport system and thereby facilitating a common mode of transport, we can reduce these numbers. Using public transport also means that we can reduce transport congestion so that people are not subject to the variability of traffic conditions. Having a well-regulated, comprehensive transport network will be useful in helping people to get around more efficiently and simply. Traffic congestion is detrimental to businesses because people are less productive when they're late for work. It is detrimental to family as the wasted time spent in traffic can be better spent elsewhere. It is detrimental to the environment as the fuel burnt from the steel car is wasted. Lastly, traffic congestion can also impact the economy. Additionally, there is an inherent danger in the use of cars. Road traffic accidents account for 1.3 million deaths per year globally, with up to 5 million injuries. Due to a lack of proper recording, these numbers are likely to be underreported too. In Singapore, the most prominent fatalities are motorcyclists, which make up 15% of our traffic, and pedestrians. A centralized transport system will definitely reduce these numbers and enhance the safety of pedestrians. High road traffic also largely contributes to community noise, which eventually leads to negative health impacts. Besides the issue of causing annoyance, it has also been implicated in higher stress levels and risk of cardiovascular diseases. It has also been shown to impair mental health as well as reading and mathematical ability. Singapore is known for its high stress levels. According to the Hudson Report 2010, 53% of people felt that stress levels had increased over the past year. 7% of people in Singapore were also reported to have some mental health disorder in 2010. As such, a silent, underground public transport system could help to reduce the stress that Singaporeans face.